There is a strange truth that most people go their entire lives without realizing. People don't become exhausted because they work too hard. They become exhausted because they spend years pretending to be someone they were never meant to be. Think about it. How many different versions of yourself do you become in a single day? One version for your family, another for your friends, a completely different one at work. And on social media, a carefully crafted image that may not even resemble the person you truly are. Slowly, after wearing so many masks for so long, you forget what your real face looks like. And that is where the real danger begins, because the moment a person loses touch with who they truly are, they stop living their own life. Instead, they begin living according to everyone else's expectations. Life works in a similar way. We always notice the final result, but we rarely notice the small changes taking place inside us every single day. That is why so many people give up too early. They plant the seed of change, yet they expect to see the harvest the very next morning. But the human mind is like nature. You cannot pull a seed out of the ground to make it grow faster. All you can do is create the right environment. Then remain patient, stay consistent, and allow growth to unfold over time. One of the greatest problems in today's world is not the lack of time. It is the absence of presence. Our minds are almost never where our lives are actually happening. We either replay yesterday's regrets or rehearse tomorrow's fears. Meanwhile, the only moment we can truly live, the present, passes by unnoticed. The strange part is that most people believe failure is their greatest enemy. It isn't. The real enemy is living unconsciously. Take a moment and ask yourself something simple. How many moments from today can you clearly remember, not because something dramatic happened, but because you were completely present? For most people, the answer is surprisingly small, because much of our day runs on autopilot. Wake up, reach for the phone, repeat the same thoughts, repeat the same worries, repeat the same reactions. The days change, the calendar changes. But the person remains exactly the same, not because change is impossible, but because they never pause long enough to observe themselves. An old man once told his grandson, "If you truly want to know who you are, don't stare at your reflection. Pay attention to the thoughts that keep returning to your mind, because the thoughts you repeatedly entertain eventually shape the person you become." At first, those words sound incredibly simple, but hidden inside them is one of the deepest truths about personal growth. A person's life begins to change when their patterns of thinking begin to change. And before those patterns can change, they must first become aware of them. That is where most people struggle. We treat every voice inside our minds as if it were the absolute truth. If it whispers, "You're not good enough," we believe it. If it says, "Everyone is judging you," we believe that too. But have you ever stopped to ask, who is actually speaking? Is that voice truly you, or is it simply an old recording, built from years of fear, past failures, other people's opinions, and experiences you never questioned? The day you begin asking that question, a new door quietly opens inside your mind, because in that moment, you are no longer trapped inside every thought that appears. You become the observer instead of the prisoner, and that is where genuine inner freedom begins. Inner freedom is not about having unlimited money. It is not about escaping responsibility. It is not even about having endless free time. It is about understanding your own mind so deeply that the outside world no longer controls the peace within you. Most people spend their entire lives trying to change their surroundings. A new city, a better job, a different relationship, a bigger house, a higher income. Yet very few people invest the same energy into transforming the person living inside those surroundings. As long as the person within remains unchanged, the scenery may change, but the story stays the same. The faces will be different. The places will be different, but the same fears, the same anger, the same emptiness will quietly return wearing different clothes. That is why lasting transformation never begins on the outside. It begins in silence. In the moment a person finally stops running from themselves, perhaps that quiet moment is where a completely new life begins. Because the person who is willing to face their own weaknesses eventually becomes strong enough to change them. And the person who accepts responsibility for their own choices gradually begins creating a different future. Real transformation is never dramatic. It rarely announces itself. It happens through small decisions, repeated day after day. A single honest conversation, one difficult choice, one moment of self-awareness, one habit replaced with a better one. None of these moments seem extraordinary on their own, but together they quietly build a life that once existed only in your imagination. The person you hope to become is not waiting somewhere in the future. That person is being created by the decisions you make today.